Greetings, 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 greetings. Coming up next is Therapy Ain't No Joke, hosted by Rasta and yours truly, myself, Sean Garvey. We're coming to you live from Atlanta and coming to you by way of the airwaves into your living room, into your office cubicle, wherever you may be. Before we get started with the show tonight, that's going to be airing on Honey later on this evening, as well as our other affiliate, the Flow Television Network, Community Media Channel 24, and wherever you get your streaming from. I got to let you all know that this show is community supported. What I mean by community supported is we are always appreciative of all the feedback and the love that you have given to us, especially on shows like these, Therapy Ain't No Joke. But we need you all to please feed the machine. And what do I mean by when I say feed the machine? I mean show us some love in a monetary form, okay? So to break it all down just a little bit, if you know anything about media, because I'm a media guy, a lot of on-air talent and personalities get paid off of advertisers and sponsors. That's how they get everything going in the broadcasting world 24/7. But Point Communications and shows like these, Therapy Ain't No Joke, is not backed by any type of corporate entity. So we're encouraging you to please show us some support by donating to a cause. This is community-based. So we're giving back to the community, and we would love the community to give back to us. Cash App, $, Reach1 Communications to support the show and many other shows under Reach1 Communications, under Honey, Podcast, FM 87, and all of our subsidiaries. Your donation, your monetary support will go towards everything we need to keep the machine running 24/7, so that way we can give you great quality programming for you and your community and your family. Okay, we also have a GoFundMe, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you go to our GoFundMe. I'm going to go ahead and put that up on the screen right now. I think that's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. There we go. We have a GoFundMe link that is still out there. If you go to the link, if you are subscribing to our YouTube channel at Reach1 Network, we really appreciate it in advance. We do have a link for you to go to support the channel, to support the platform, and to support shows like these. All right. So in the meantime, we're going to take a break, and then we will come back with an important conversation to the follow-up to my experience over at the Black Men Lab conference that took place here in Atlanta, Georgia, a couple of days ago. Okay, so I'm going to give you a recap on everything that took place. But in the meantime, GoFundMe. Click on the link below, or if you're tapping in on Instagram and on YouTube, go ahead and go to the link and show your support. Give back to the community, which is us. We'll give back to you with all this great quality program, okay? And to go more in detail about it, we're going to go to a break and give you more information on how you can support us, how we can support you. Thank you.
Tubies of the world, your Hulu, your Netflix, your Peacock. So what separates Honey from all the other competitors?
That's a great question, Sean. Let's talk about what separates Honey from other streaming apps. First off, Honey offers cutting-edge content with a wide selection of a variety, or even offering an adult pay-per-view section. But a more important question, what's in it for you? Well, here at Honey, we offer a premium choice to the public. So that means if you're a filmmaker or content creator, we give you the chance to submit your films for free to be featured on Roku itself. How insane is that? Of course, to sustain this and grow our efforts, we need all the support we can get. That's why we're asking you to join our cause in donating to Honey. Now, we know our goal may appear to come off as a bit steep, but the truth is any donation, even in the smallest form, would be greatly appreciated. Please join our cause. Every contribution makes a difference.
Hi everyone, my name is Queen K, and I'm a marketing specialist here at Honey, and I just wanted to take the time today to show you all how you're able to access the Reach One Network application on your Amazon Fire TV. So without further ado, let's get things started. All right, so we're here on the landing page for the Fire TV. We're going to go ahead and use the voice command by searching by saying, Alexa, open Reach One Network.
Here's Reach One Network.
And we're here. So we have the live section, radio section, and video section. So immediately you see Honey. You can definitely tap in over to see what's the buzz there. Consistent 24/7 good stuff, content over there, as well as, like I said, the radio section. Here we have some great things for your listening pleasure. Just in case you want to listen into some things you may not want to, you might want to see anything. You want to listen. And last but not least, we have the video section, which is a repository of all the wonderful content that has come up and things that will be airing very soon. So I'm very excited to see what you guys think. So take some time, go through each tab, and really just dig into the content here. And make sure you guys are rating us, and we're just happy to see you guys do this content. My name is Queen K, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Greetings everyone, it is the architect Sean Garvey, and guess what? I am back in the beautiful city of the ATL, as you can see in the backdrop here. Looks a little bit like the old Atlanta, but not the new Atlanta. I'm just saying. But I'm here to let you know to join me coming soon to Atlanta's Channel 24 as I introduce a brand new show called Sean Garvey and My Special Guest. Make sure you join me as I sit down and have one-on-one conversations with the best and brightest stars in the radio, film, TV, and even in the music industry. Plus, you get to learn something from yours truly and from my special guest. So make sure you join me, Sean Garvey, and my special guest coming soon to Atlanta's Channel 24, available on Comcast and Xfinity. And make sure you follow me on social media at Sean Garvey ATL. Mama, I made it, and I'm not even on the news.
Greetings. Welcome to Therapy Ain't No Joke. I am loving the new music jingle going into the show. I'm loving it. Sean Garvey, along with my co-host, Rasta, joining with us. Rasta is on, I just wanted to point it out here on live television. Rasta is muted. There we go. What's going on, man?
Another beautiful day. Another chance to reach out to the people and, do the best we can to support them in whatever avenue that we can. Reach One Communication is here to reach out and help others to the best of our ability effectively.
Indeed. I think I'm hearing some feedback in the background there. I don't know if it's me or... Okay. But Rasta is checking that out, ladies and gentlemen. Just want to let you know again that we are simulcasting on multiple platforms. You can like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are broadcasting live over there, and you can comment on our YouTube channel at Reach One Network. And also, I am coming to you from my Instagram. I am live on Instagram at Sean Garvey ATL and Facebook at Sean Garvey. We used to have a way where we can be on 8 destinations at the same time, Rasta, but they don't want us to do that. They want to limit ourselves, but you know, it is what it is. But the good news is that if you missed any of tonight's highlights, you can check it out later on tonight on the Honey channel. Just make sure you download the Honey channel to your Roku TV, and it'll also be simulcasted on the Flow Television Network later on this evening if we get it up there on time. But in the meantime, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Reach One Network. All the information is on our videos on demand. So I'm gonna have a little bit of fun with you, Rasta, tonight on tonight's show in celebration of Men's Health Month. But I want to start off by saying that I'm a little bit disappointed, though.
Really?
I'm a little bit disappointed.
Okay, talk to me.
I missed out on 2 big events, and it didn't include the Black Men Lab that we're going to get into in just a few moments. But I missed 2 major events that took place in Atlanta recently. Can you guess what one of them was?
I think one of them was I think it was a CPS conference they had not too long ago. I think it was last week, I think. And the other event is so much stuff going on in Atlanta, to be honest with you. I don't know how to pinpoint that one.
Okay. So I was not aware that there was a CPS event. You said CPS, right?
Yeah.
Short form, for those that don't know, short for Certified Peer Specialist.
Correct.
Okay. So I didn't know that was happening in Atlanta. Big shout out to those that attended. But these 2 events were non-mental health related. They were actually musical acts.
Okay.
And you know, if you know me, I love hip hop.
Right.
I love hip hop. We talked a little bit about it on our first interaction with each other on one of our previous episodes. But one event I missed was the last concert of Goody Mob, which took place in East Point. Yeah, they have this thing called Wind Down Wednesdays that takes place during late spring, early summer in East Point, Georgia.
Right.
And they brought out Goody Mob to do what they call it their last concert series, their farewell tour. Yeah. So it might allegedly, it might be the last time we will see all 4 members of Goody Mob on stage together.
That's definitely a classic to miss. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So So I missed out on that event. I had something to do. Actually, it took place on a Wednesday night. We had to do Therapy Ain't No Joke, Rasta. So how ironic was that for Goody Mob to perform in Atlanta the same night that we had to do Therapy Ain't No Joke?
Heartbreaking. Yeah. Maybe next time if we're able to plan ahead, we can actually go to something like that and shoot live from there, so to speak.
That's a good idea. That's a good, I didn't think about that. See, ding, ding, ding. See, this is why I have Ross on the show. He comes with some great ideas. Because we could have did somewhat like a live remote on Instagram and on Facebook. Hey, come out. This will definitely help you with your mental health. Come out and enjoy some great music. Get out of the house. Get away from your mobile devices and, sit on the grass, sit on the lawn and enjoy some great entertainment. And it's family oriented. It's not just only for adults. It's also for the kids. It's for the community. So if you're trying to make sure that your mental well-being is up to par, you definitely want to attend to an event like that.
Absolutely. Especially with the last episode dealing with social media, Black men, Black women. So that would have been a the irony of black men and black women and others coming together at a concert away from social media, but somewhere live.
There you go. There you go, man. We got to do that next time. Definitely. Now, the second event that I missed, and it took place just the other day, Rasta. I missed in adjacent with Goody Mob, ATL Zone, Outkast Zone, Andre 3000, 3 Stacks, performed his flute performance at just random Atlanta areas. So it came to a surprise to a lot of ATLians, keyword ATLians, that Outkast on Andre 3000 came out and played his flute from his latest album, not the piano album, but from the other album. And no one did not expect for 3 Stacks to come out of nowhere and showed up with the Dungeon family, because it wasn't just him. It was Outkast. It was him and Big Boy. You seen the picture that went viral on the internet? Big Boy and Dre 2000 standing next to each other, alongside with each other, man. I mean, it was just such a beautiful thing. But many of us did not know ahead that Dre 2000 would just pull out his flute with his people and perform what appeared to be like in a parking lot of a shopping center or somewhere in Atlanta.
Right.
Yeah. So I was like, man, that's two. That's two. Outkast and Goody Mob.
They might have planned it. They might have planned that. There might have been a whole plan that they had all together as a collaborative. Look, we're gonna do this back to back and tear Atlanta down the right way.
Yeah, because I don't think Outkast was. Yeah, I don't think I know, because it would have went viral. Outkast did not perform at the last concert for Goody Mob, so maybe Dre 2000 doing his thing, and then the Dungeon family and Big Boy showing up and all that was to make up for the Outkast performance. I think Big Boy may have performed. I think he did. For all of my people, just confirm and verify that, because I wasn't there. You know, I wasn't there at the event, but I think Big Boy performed with Goody Mob at the concert last week. So,
got to be more careful.
I know, man. I know. We're talking about some ATL legends.
Listen, they were definitely, in my opinion, underrated as a whole. Definitely, no question.
Underrated. But won a Grammy, though.
True.
Won a Grammy.
True. They should have had a couple.
Won some Grammys. Yeah. Yeah, man. All right. Oh, but speaking of concerts now, just to give you all a heads up, next week, I don't know if we can do it or not. I don't think they will allow us to do it inside of the arena. But speaking of hip hop, Wu-Tang is coming to the ATL next week. They're going to be performing. And, speaking of farewell, they too are going to be doing their farewell tour across the country. And one of their stops is here in Atlanta. Yours truly, alongside with Tig, big shout out to Tig, we're going to be at the Wu-Tang concert next week. Okay. And guess what day the concert is going to fall on?
On a Wednesday. Well, the irony of these classics happening on Wednesdays just goes to show and prove the importance of mental health and therapy. Music is very therapeutic, especially when you're going to see legends in the making.
Yeah,
so most definitely. It's understandable.
Absolutely, man. And then the irony. The other irony too is that people always compare Dungeon Family, Goody Mob, and Outkast to Wu-Tang. Like, to them, they were our Wu-Tang, Tribe Called Quest, of the South. So the irony in Goody Mob, and then Dre 2000 performing in their hometown, in their local hometown. And then next week is the Wu-Tang concert that's going to take place at State Farm Arena. Wow, like definitely the summer has started on a good note. I will say that.
Yeah.
It started on a really great note.
There's a slight conundrum, okay? How can it be Wu-Tang forever if this is their last as a collective?
I think their albums are going to live on and on and on. Their legacy, their music, their catalog is going to live on and on and on. That's what makes it Wu-Tang forever.
I go for that.
You know,
The music is definitely in the collaborative groups as a whole that actually make Wu-Tang. Each individual person, let alone the individual groups that was in the group. It was crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. Yo, really quick, I got to give a big shout out to DJ Miss Eclectic because I see her on the check-in. I referred to her as Chantel last week, but she goes by DJ Miss Eclectic. Okay, so for those that don't know, DJ Miss Eclectic is a radio personality here in Atlanta, and she also is a DJ, a certified DJ. Okay, because you know there's DJs out here that say they are a DJ, but she's really, really, really a DJ. And she's also a producer, a radio producer. She produces Wanderland Stokes on 1380 WLK, and she hosts a Friday night show on the same station, 1380 WAOK here in Atlanta, called Good Vibes with DJ Miss Eclectic. So I got to make sure I give her a big shout out and say what up to DJ Miss Eclectic checking in on Therapy Ain't No Joke with Rasta and Sean Garvey. So big shout out to her, man. I'm loving this ATL vibe. I'm loving this ATL vibe. Loving it, man. Loving it.
Definitely.
All right. Also, big shout out to everybody on the check-in. Big shout out to Megan for checking in, as well as Riddell on the check-in from Chicago. Big ups, big shout outs to you all. Big shout outs to you all. Okay, so tonight's show, I'm not going to delay any further. It's a very important one. And, you know, we're going to still have a bit of fun with it, but we're going to be serious at the same time because we're talking about all things considered mental health in our community. And once again, this is Therapy Ain't No Joke with Rasta and Sean Garvey, in which we talk about all things mental health in the community and around the world. And we also provide solutions to everybody that are in need of assistance for their mental well-being. But tonight's show is going to be a very important topic, like all the other episodes that we have done lately. And today's topic, recapping my experience at the Black Man Lab on media and our mental health. Ooh, that's a heavy one. So let me quarterback to last week's show, Rasta. So last week's show, we had our brother, Lightworker Wayne, on, who is a mental health advocate. And he's really, really great in the community in Atlanta for going around talking about mental health advocacy, raising the awareness about mental health, what people need to do, and also curating different mental health-based events in Atlanta. And unfortunately, we were only able to have him on for just a certain short amount of time on last week's show, as we were also joined by Randy G. Shout out to Randy G for coming on. But we still had him on, and we gave him the floor to give his 2 cents on the topic that we raised last week about social media. Is social media dividing Black men and Black women? We heard different perspectives, some valid points, really great conversation. Right. And afterwards, Rasta, offline, Lightworker Wayne hit me up and he said, yo, Sean, like, yo, brethren. He's like, yeah, I'm so glad I got you on the phone because look, man, we got this ceremony coming up and I want you to be a part of it because we're going to be talking about Black men and media and mental health and how all those three things intertwine with each other. And I was like, hey, say less. I'm there.
That part.
And right. And so he asked me, hey, man, do you think you can come on and be a panelist? Because at first I was like, oh, I'm just going over there just to support, just be in the audience and just watch everything and what have you. But to be a panelist on the event, I was like, man, let's do it. Let's go. Let's go. Right. So I accepted the invitation and I went to the event. I'm going to go ahead and show just some footage of what took place at the event. Now, I'm not going to show the part where me as one of the panelists on the stage and the other panelists that were on the stage. I'm not going to show that part. But what I'm going to show to our viewers, Rasta, is the environment and what it looked like with all of us black men being in that one environment. So let me go ahead and cue this up and show it to our viewers here. If we can get it to play. Can we get it to play?
Sure.
Oh, no, we can't. Okay. I might have to do it from the other end. Okay. All right. So we're going to get that going in just a few moments. Let me see if I can play this one. Nope. Okay. So I'm going to have to show those two videos from another area of the studio that we use. But it was such, how can I put it into words? It was a great experience, first and foremost, to be invited and to be amongst not just only older men, Rasta, but younger men, even kids that were, I want to say, maybe like 6 or 7 years old, 6 to 8 years old. You know, so it was a family event, and what made it so interesting and organized is that it wasn't just an event for black men, but it was also an event for black women. But they had one section where they would have the black women in one room and the black men in another.
Right.
So it wasn't co-ed or anything. It was just two different sections where they wanted black men to just be in that room only, to talk amongst each other. And then the black women in their other room, they can do their own thing. And we had a whole lot to talk about. We had a whole lot of things to cover and stuff. And I'm going to see if I can get that video up here, because I want to show, before we get into the conversation, Rasta, I want to show the viewers a little bit of coverage from the Black Man Lab. Okay. But let me get your thoughts on things, Rasta. Being the deep thinker that you are, when you put black men, the media, and mental health all in the same can, in the same room with each other, what comes to your mind?
Magic. Magic at its purest. Anytime melanated men can get together for a positive cause and a purpose like that, and then you have media involved in establishing a space of mental health conversations, real live, nothing sugar-coated, raw and uncut. Only magic can happen. Where there's a greater understanding amongst men, and whether they're younger or older. It's a each one teach one situation when we do that. So in a word, I just have to say magic.
Magic. Okay. And a lot of different opinions, if you will. Different opinions, not just only magic, but a lot of different opinions, a lot of different perspectives. Even as black men, we grew up on television a lot. We come from a time where we didn't have social media. Obviously, we didn't have social media, and we didn't have all the devices in front of us. Everything wasn't accessible to us. Only thing we had, well, there were only two things we had. We had television, and we also had the radio.
Don't
And
forget a
so,
VCR.
yeah, go ahead.
Don't forget a VCR.
What? Say that again?
Don't forget a
The
VCR.
VCR.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
We had the VCR, and attached to the television, of course, and then we had the radio. So those devices that we had in front of us at the time, way before our smartphones and social media, those things were our go-to to watch what was happening on the other side of the world,
right.
or to watch what was happening in our community. I mean, we were there when we saw back in 91, 92, 93, between 91 and 93. We saw what happened with Rodney King on camera. We also saw in the 90s, we also saw the O.J. Simpson trial.
Yeah.
We saw a lot of things was happening, not just only in our neighborhoods, the 6 o'clock news and 5 o'clock news highlighting the story of the day, seeing the senseless violence, the outcome or the aftermath of what happened in those neighborhoods. We saw that on television.
Right.
But we also saw a lot of what people consider and what people label as hood movies.
Yes.
Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, South Central, Fresh. The list goes on and on and on. And many of us, whether we come from humble beginnings or not, many of us view those movies in our own interpretation.
Yeah.
And, outside of those movies, of course, we had television sitcoms. We had The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. We had Family Matters. We had A Different World. We saw another side of Black entertainment of what we could be. Now, my brother, Lightworker Wayne, our brother, let me not just say my brother, but Lightworker, because he was asked a question on the panel. And shout out to Lightworker Wayne, I know you're checking in. He was asked a question by one of the moderators at the event. And it was a question, if I can paraphrase it, it was a question about what do he see when he watches himself on television or watches a Black man representing him or that look like him. Like, what is your interpretation of what you see on television by another Black man that looks like you? And I'm just paraphrasing the question that the moderator asked. And I remember Lightworker Wayne brought up the movie Soul Plane and how the characters and the actors were portrayed in that movie. Very stereotypical. Let's call it for what it is. Very stereotypical.
Right.
And then I came behind him and his partner, Huey. We have somebody? Okay, there's somebody ringing at the doorbell. His partner, Huey, big shout out to director Huey, who also was on the panel. I came behind both of them and I revisited what Lightworker Wayne said about the depiction of Black men in television and entertainment like that, right? And I said, before Soul Plane, you had a show called Homeboys in Outer Space that aired on UPN, short-lived. And then before that, you had, or let's take it further back. Before that, you had minstrel shows. That came before me and Rasta's time. But then you also got to fast forward to modern day and look at the bad side of hip hop.
Mm.
And then not only that, Rasta, let's stay in the 90s for a moment, because I'm a 90s kid. We had shows, and I forgot to mention this on the panel. We had Jerry Springer.
Huh.
We had Maury Povich.
Ricky Lake.
We had those kind of shows, right?
Right.
Ricky Lake. Yeah.
Montel.
We
Williams.
had those kind of shows. Yeah. Well, Montel Williams, but Montel Williams was a bit different.
Okay.
But you're right. He was a talk show host, but his content wasn't nowhere compared to Jerry Springer and Maury Povich. And
Absolutely.
the reason why I brought up Jerry and Maury, and God bless the dead Jerry Springer, but Jerry and Maury shows in their later years of airing their programs depicted stereotypical black men as deadbeat fathers.
And did.
Or black men that were allegedly to be dead fathers. There you go, go ahead. Oh, I think Rasta's Wi-Fi is Wi-Fi. By the way, you froze up there, Rasta. Let's see if we can get you back on. But I'm gonna continue on until Rasta can come back on with us.
Can you hear me?
It was the classic line. Yeah, I can hear you now, but you froze up. Your screen froze up.
Copy.
Okay. But we can still hear you. But what I was going to say was that the classic line that so many people echoed from Maury Povich. Joe, we just going to say Joe. Joe, you are not the father. You are not the father. When the fraternity test came out, and it was echoed by so many people in our community that those stereotypes that we've seen in television and on shows like that ended up becoming either our own reality or perpetuating what has already happened in those humble beginnings or in those areas of life that some of us or most of us came from, looking to better our lives, to not continue on carrying the curse, in which we sometimes call generational curse. But the whole thing of the conference was that, how do these images that we see as black men, how do they affect our mental health? Especially in the age now of social media, where we see pretty much uncensored and over-the-top images of not just only black women, but black men.
Right.
And let's not get it twisted. We can have an open and honest conversation, ladies and gentlemen. The stuff that I've seen from black women do on social media, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. But the stuff I've also seen of black men being portrayed on social media and some of the things that I've seen black men do, whether it's showing off how many ammunition, how many guns they have, or just doing very questionable stuff online.
Right.
You have to sit back and wonder, is it a reflection of me? Or what they doing a reflection of me?
Absolutely not.
So we're asking the question. So yeah. So we're talking about it. It's not I don't want to propose the question, but what do you? Well, let me go ahead and just frame it in a question on second thought here. How does entertainment, black men? Let's have a conversation with just the black men only. How does entertainment affect your mental health? with the images that you see on television or even on social media. You know, social media is the new television. How does it affect your mental health? And this is such good timing because I'm about to segue to Rasta, and we now got him back on. We see you,
Okay.
Rasta.
Okay. That can vary. That's a very broad and vague question to a degree. Only because to each person is going to be a different answer. To each age bracket, it'll be a different answer. Where I'm at now in my life, it's more like you're only going to watch what you can relate to at that stage in your life. Some people might not like him, but I'm going to refer to him in this example. Look at Jay-Z, right? When he first came out, what he was rapping about, that's what he was living. Then each album, as you heard his growth, he rapped different, but still had a maintained flow. Jeezy, the same way, came out one way, each one growed. Ludacris, T.I., so forth and so on. As they grew, their rhymes grew, their image grew. So it's the same thing with just, I don't want to be offensive and say the average man. As melanated men and women, but more so men, because that's what we're on right now, they're going to watch and be affected by the space that they're in mentally. So that's how it begins to dive deep, affecting the mental health. If, as melanated men, we're in a disturbed state of mental health, what we watch is like a cycle of feeding that disturbance until we choose to step outside of it and begin to make bigger and better, healthier decisions. Learning different coping skills, learning different problem-solving techniques, learning how to really see the truth of what we've been through and where we are and where we would like to see ourselves go. So back in the day when I was into things I shouldn't have been into, I related to those things. So I watched those things. Those things were the things that entertained me, not realizing that I was actually feeding that space of ignorance, feeding that space of mental health disturbance. I'm gonna call it what it is because I'm talking about myself. That was a disturbing state. When you think violence is funny, violence is entertaining, especially when it's right in front of you. So on social media, when you see all the hood fights and people getting knocked out and people getting shot at and people jumping in their charges or they Hellcats and they take it off running from the police and everybody's like, oh, that's entertaining because that's where their mind is. So any melanated man that is affected firmly by the things that they're seeing is due to the fact that they're choosing to see that because it's acceptable to them based off how they grew up. I only speak from the evidence of my own life. It's no different than, for instance, you a hip hop head, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't know that there's a difference between rap and hip hop, a rapper and an MC. They're two different worlds. Two completely different worlds. A MC is lyrical. A MC is here to teach, help navigate, and grow, and knows that the money will come. Whereas a rapper nowadays, and no offense to any of them because they're out there doing their thing. However, they're doing it for the money. The education is nowhere near involved because in that moment, they're busy tearing each other down, being a product of their environment by choice. So hip hop is a culture. It's a way of life. Rap is a style. No offense to the rappers out there. Do what you do. I ain't mad at you. Get your money. Live your life. The fact is the fact, though. So, in general, us being melanated men, if we sit down in the lab and have mature conversation, not just necessarily based off opinion, but more so the fact of the matter, we only entertain these things because that's the space we're in. What you think?
You know, and I hear you, right? I hear where you're coming from. Like, you watch what you relate to. Let me just stay on that for a moment. So, like I said, I grew up watching shows like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I watched Family Matters. Let's even go further back than that. I watched Good Times. Right? Even though Good Times came on years before I came to the planet.
Right.
I watched every episode of Good Times. And then I also watched The Cosby Show. Now, here's the funny thing from a psychological standpoint. If I were to ask you, Rasta, which show do you think I watched the most? Good Times or The Cosby Show? What would your answer be?
Good Times.
Oh, you would say
Did
Good
you hear
Times? Now, why would you
Yeah.
say Good Times?
A
You
word
say
you use.
Good Times. Now,
a word-
yeah, why would you
word
say
you-
Good Times?
A word you use commonly when you say humble beginnings. Good Times is a narrative that everybody can relate to. The Cosby Show is possibly stereotypically what everybody aspired to be. To have that family, to have that setup, to have the nice house, to have all of this. Yeah, but the reality was Good Times was relatable. We in the hood, excuse the expression, we thugging, we trying to figure it out, and all we got is each other. Let's get it. So it was more realistic. So in my mind, that's what I would assume.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Rasta is correct. I have watched more episodes of Good Times than I did watching The Cosby Show. Because Good Times was more relatable to me than The Cosby Show. And there are other people that feel the same way too. I know what it's like to go a day or two without a real home cooked good meal. I know what it's like living off of food stamps and seeing danger in a particular proximity, in a particular community. So I know what it's like. I never grew up in a household where my dad was a doctor and my mother was a lawyer. Or, my parents were never school teachers or anything like that. I didn't come from that environment. So to Rasta's point, we watch what we relate to, even if society or certain people consider that to be stereotypical.
Right.
We grew up listening to NWA. Well, I didn't start listening to NWA until later on, but we grew up on songs. You heard me mention about Goody Mob and Outkast. We listened to Goody Mob and Outkast because we related to the subject matters that Goody Mob and Outkast did in their song. And so, again, from a mental health standpoint, right? From a psychological, from a mental health standpoint, we listen to things that could help us cope with what we're dealing with as Black men.
Yeah.
We deal with what we listen to what we're dealing with on an everyday basis. Now let's take it beyond hip hop. Let's take it beyond music. Let's step away outside of hip hop and music for a second, and let's talk about the manosphere. Because I didn't bring this up in the Black Man Lab conference this week, but I want to bring this up because I think it's so relevant, Rasta, that this type of new medium is not really new, but it's still new. But this particular medium has made such a impact in how we are from a social standpoint. So for those that don't know what the manosphere is, it's like a new renaissance. It's not really new, but you know, it's been out there for a minute. It's been there since 2020, the pandemic or something like that. And we talked a little bit about this from last week's episode of Therapy Ain't No Joke. But it's this renaissance of black men in particular, producing, curating, and hosting podcast content online, specifically on YouTube and other places, where they get into conversations about the black man versus black women and how modern day women are making such a negative impact socially, especially to the black man's life. You know, because there's this thing that's happening right now where nowadays black women are in leadership, black women are getting the bag, like they say. Black women are becoming more CEOs, they're in higher positions and stuff. And when you hear women, whether they talk amongst each other or put out shows, talk shows out there to the general public, it comes off male bashing. It comes off as if black man ain't nothing, and us as black women, we have to deal with the stuff that black men have put on us for years. And so now this is kind of like our revenge tour, if you will, of talking about telling our side of what we've been through, you know, from cheating, from infidelity, baby mamas, and all this other stuff. And so with the black manosphere, black men are creating content centering around what black women are doing wrong in modern day society. And if it's something that is newsworthy or it gets out there to the public for people of all ages to hear and to consume to, they just take it for what it is and run with it. And it becomes like a domino effect where people say, well, I heard this on such and such podcast. I heard such and such on this episode. I heard such and such, da 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 da. And what it does, Rasta, and everybody watching Therapy Ain't No Joke, because I'm coming home with it. What is your point, Sean Garvey? Trauma creates more trauma.
Absolutely.
When you're creating content shows, like the ones that we are seeing on YouTube.
I call it. Noah. First, let me say this because I know.
Go ahead, Rasta. No, come on in, Rasta. Come on in.
First, let me say this because I know the person's name I'm about to mention. You know, they get a lot of flack and a lot of slack. Okay, so I don't need no smoke from you, homie. Even though I'm not ducking none, I don't want no problems. However, it is what it is. I call it the Charleston White syndrome. Okay, the only difference is, yeah. The only difference is, as much as people don't like Charleston White because he do all of this and do all of that, do all of this on social media, he's finding another way to market himself and get that money. So other people are following that same context, not saying he started it because it was around before him, okay? But they're following that same content in the sense of saying, I'm gonna be controversial so I can get these views, so I can get this money, and I can be heard. The only problem is when people do that, they start to believe they own foolery. And what they're doing is creating more of the foolery that they got scarred by. So you call yourself male bashing and you call yourself woman bashing when all you're doing is reciprocating the cycle. You're continuously building that same cycle that you say you don't like. Now, I brought up Charleston White, so let me clarify a little bit about this. Out of all the controversy he has on social media, the man has done wonderful things for the community and wonderful things for his people. He has sat down and been an influence in passing laws, influencing laws, has sat down with Congress members in his city and other cities to influence a movement amongst the people to provide a space for the people. And if you listen to him talk, he says, yeah, I talk trash about my people. I talk this, but I do it for F's and giggles. He does it for the fun of it. But that is what I'm targeting. When people are doing stuff, him and anybody else are doing things like that and creating negative content for giggles, for fun, and it's spreading and going viral, you took one person's thought based off of what they've been around and what they've seen. You put it on a platform for thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people to see and be further influenced with the foolery. Because once you see negative content, the moment, and this is dealing with real mental health, the moment that a person sees that content, agrees with that content, they've accepted that content in their train of thought. And therefore will reciprocate that. Let's not forget also a couple episodes ago about when we look at stuff like that, we look at something else like that, we look at something else like that, and you begin the algorithm and it's automatically sent to your phone. So therefore, social media and the internet plays its part in the division of melanated men and melanated women by the acceptance of the choice of reciprocating the same nonsense and the same foolery as a train of thought. Your habits, your thoughts become your habits, and your habits become your thoughts as well. They're intertwined. One feeds the other. So if I'm looking at mental health videos for 2 and 3 weeks, that third and fourth week is going to automatically be sent to my social media. It's going to be psychiatrists, different people speaking on the same topic. So I'm choosing to feed myself. In short, anybody that has a problem with what they're seeing on social media as a whole, it's your choice, because you can choose otherwise. You can build your own algorithm. Yes, they're going to still shoot some nonsense in there, and probably some nonsense that you'd be like, I don't even look at this stuff. Why is this on my phone? Or why is this on my tablet? Why is this on my laptop? Or whatever device you're using. Notice device. For the record, everyone, device means to separate. That's what it means. So you have the device, you have the separation, and inside of that, you have the program of separation. So if we're going to build dialogue in a lab amongst melanated men, I think the primary dialogue should be, how do we retrain our mind not to accept the circumstances of what we've been through as okay, opposed to creating more content in our lives, in our mind, and in our heart. So that social media only plays the part that we choose it to, instead of just allowing it to run us.
Rasta, you have hit a nerve when you brought up Charleston White a few moments ago. Oh boy, you're trying to get us to go viral.
Hey, listen,
I did not expect he would mention Charleston White.
listen. The truth is the truth. The man is extremely controversial. Some of the man's stuff is just completely outrageous. However, if anyone does their research on him, they will actually see that some of that is a facade. He had some humble beginnings, but at the same time, he made the best of it and made choices that have allowed situations to change other people's lives for the better as well. So he's not allowing the content to affect him. He's creating the content. And whoever fall for it, because don't just listen to the nonsense he speaks. Listen to some of the good stuff that he speaks as well, so you can actually see what's happening and what he's doing instead of accepting that on face value.
Yeah. Let's put a bookmark on that, because we're at the top of the hour. I want us to do a second half on this content, this subject that we're touching on in honor of Men's Health Month. And this is the question that I'm going to put out there to our viewers. How is the media affecting the Black man's mental health? You can weigh in on the conversation by clicking on the StreamYard link that we have in our YouTube, in the comment section, and on Instagram. And just weigh in. How is the media affecting the Black man's mental health? You can also comment on YouTube in the comment section at Reach One Network. Just make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and pass the video on to others so they can watch us as well. We are streaming live from 7 p.m. all the way up until 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But if you miss any of tonight's highlights, we will definitely have this up for you on demand. And it's going to be on Honey, my television channel, Honey, and on the Flow Television Network. Afterwards, Sean Garvey and Rasta. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we are also on ATL Community Media Channel 24. If you have a Comcast Xfinity, we are on there as well. Stay tuned. Second half coming up next, right here on Therapy Ain't No Joke with Sean Garvey and Rasta. Oh, this is getting good. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
And I just wanted to take the time today to show you all how you're able to access the Reach One Network application on your Amazon Fire TV. So without further ado, let's get things started. All right, so we're here on the landing page for the Fire TV. We're going to go ahead and use the voice command by searching by saying, Alexa, open Reach One Network.
Here's Reach One Network.
And we're here. So we have the live section, radio section, and video section. So immediately you see Honey. You can definitely tap in over to see what's the buzz there. Consistent 24/7 good stuff, content over there, as well as, like I said, the radio section. Here we have some great things for your listening pleasure. Just in case you want to listen into some things, you may not want to, you might want to see anything. You want to listen. And last but not least, we have the video section, which is a repository of all the wonderful content that has come up and things that will be airing very soon. So I'm very excited to see what you guys think. So take some time, go through each tab, and really just dig into the content here. And make sure you guys are rating us, and we're just happy to see you guys do this content. My name is Queen K, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
Hey folks, it's Sean here from Reach One Communications, and I want to take a moment to give you a tutorial video on how to download the Honey streaming app to your Roku TV. I get asked a lot on a daily, how do you download the Honey streaming app to your Roku TV? Well, here's an explainer video on how to download it to your Roku TV. But first, you got to have a Roku TV in your household in order to go through the step-by-step process to get the streaming app on your Roku TV. So once you have the Roku TV device in place, you want to make sure you are on the home page, okay? And then next, what you're going to do is take your Roku TV remote and you're going to scroll down until you see the search category. Now, just to let you all know in advance, I already have the app, the Honey app, as you can see on the right-hand side here, under recent search sections.
I've already downloaded the Honey app to my Roku TV a few times, but I uninstalled it in the purpose of this tutorial video. But we're going to reinstall it just so that you can see a step-by-step on how it works. Okay, so once you get to the search engine box, you're going to type in the letters Honey, which spells out honey. Okay, so that's HONE and then the Y. You want to make sure you get all the letters in there, so that way the Roku TV can actually see what you're typing in the search engine box. Okay, so once you have the word spelled out, you're going to go scroll down till you see the app category. Okay, and as you can see, the watermark there is honey with the yellow dripping image at the bottom of the word there, honey, with the white backspace there. So you want to make sure you look for that watermark there, honey, and then you're going to use your Roku TV remote to click on the streaming app, and it's going to take you to a screen there. At the bottom of your screen on the left hand side there is going to be a tab that reads Add App. You want to add this app to your Roku TV device. So we're going to go ahead and click on Add App, and it's going to take a few moments for it to read and to finalize, so that way it can download the app itself properly to the Roku TV. It doesn't take too long, and as you can see, the notification box came up saying add or app added to the Roku TV. Honey has been added to the home page. In order to move it, highlight it and press the star key. You want to make sure you do that, but we're going to do that a little bit later in the interest of time, or you can do it at your own disposal if you like. We're going to go ahead and click the OK button on the notification there, and it's just going to take a few moments to do what it needs to do in order for us to go directly to the channel. Okay, and as you can see at the bottom there, it says open the app. So what we're going to do is open the app, and you're going to see that opening there where it says Honey at Reach One Communications Company. And it's going to take a few moments to buffer and let it go through the process. And now we have a couple of things here on display. And there it is right there, ladies and gentlemen. The Honey streaming app is now on your Roku TV, and it's going to automatically play whatever is playing on the air. As you can see, it's the Beat Break Morning Show for myself and the Beat Break Morning Show crew. Shout out to the Beat Break Morning Show crew. And we have a wide variety of different categories to choose from. We have our radio station, Podcast FM 87, and our Reach One network. Now, as you can see, just so you know that it is going through a few updates here, and it's going to gray out just a little bit. So what you're going to do is go back to Open App. Okay, it's going to do the same thing. It's going to buffer a little bit. Okay, and now we're back to the channel. So just so you all know, the Roku TV is doing some updates here, so you may want to upgrade to another version of your Roku TV in order to prevent those grayouts from happening on a regular basis. But in the meantime, you now have the Honey streaming app. We have all these different subsidiaries, including Podcast FM 87, Reach One Network, and the Beat Break Morning Show channel, and of course Beat Break Radio. We also have the Forbidden Honey erotic pay-per-view that you can pay to subscribe and watch, and a few different libraries and categories to choose from for on-demand purposes. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this has been a somewhat quick video tutorial on how to download the Honey streaming app to your Roku TV. So now we're going to go to part 2 of the tutorial video on how you can download the Honey streaming app to your Roku TV by being on your laptop computer. Okay, you just want to make sure you go to reach1communications.com for further information, and I will see you in the next video. Happy streaming.
are back. Welcome to the second half of Therapy Ain't No Joke. Sean Garvey and Rasta. Second half. Oh man, it is getting good. It is getting good. We are already getting some comments. I already see the comments in the comment section here. We're going to go to those in just a few moments. But if you're just now tuning in, and if this is your first time, this is where we talk about all things considered mental health in our community. We are streaming live on our YouTube channel. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Reach One Network. You see it at the bottom of your screen there. And we just came back from doing a tutorial video on how to download the Honey app. Like I said, tonight's show will be on Honey later on this evening. So make sure you go ahead and download the Honey app. It's free. It's free. Okay, download the Honey app to your mobile device. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we are live on YouTube, Reach One Network, Instagram at Sean Garvey ATL, and as well as on Facebook at Sean Garvey. But most importantly, you can check out this content and many more on ATL Community Media Channel 24 in Atlanta. Rasta, I'm almost ready to go to the comments because we already have comments coming in from our viewers and from our listeners tuning in all over the world. Tonight's topic, we are recapping my experience as a Black man lab on media and our mental health. Question I'm putting out there to our viewers is, how is the media affecting the Black man's mental health? You can comment in the comment section whether you are watching me on Instagram and on YouTube at Reach One Network, or you can click on the link to join in and weigh in on the conversation in studio. So Rasta, before we go to the comments, I finally got the video clips that I want our viewers and our audience to see and just kind of see how the conference went at the Black Man's Conference. And then I want to talk a little bit about what the Black Man Lab is all about for people that may not be familiar with the initiative to get all Black men, especially in the Atlanta area, to come together and have important conversations on what we need to do as Black men to change the narrative and to change things in our community. So this is... All right. So that was footage number one, okay, from the Black Man's Lab conference that I attended. Okay, and this is footage number two of me speaking to light worker Wayne.
Yo, man, it's light worker Wayne, man. I'm here with my brother Sean Garvey. My brother laid it down, man, when he was talking about the mental health, right? He was talking about what we need to do as a community, man. Hey, just big shout outs to you, bro. Big shout outs to you.
And thank you for the invitation at Sean Garvey ATL. I gotta make sure I mention that because I keep forgetting to mention that. But most importantly, Black men, go see a therapist, go talk to somebody, go get help, and keep on raising the awareness of mental health because we need to always talk about it in our community.
And we need to build and continue to elevate. Don't be afraid, form a support group to empower your mental health. Hey, let's get it.
Let's get it.
Oh, such a beautiful thing. Such a beautiful thing, man. What comes to your mind, Rasta? What comes to your mind when you see that?
Just the unity of men, and more so the fact that they're taking the opportunity to take a chance to learn something different, whether it's about themselves or someone else. I noticed Lightworker Wayne had on the Respect Institute shirt, which I'll be a part of probably in about a month or so. that's something I'm looking forward to as well. It allows you to take your life's experience, your lived experience, and give you a platform to talk about it in a way where you know how to convey your message appropriately, especially in a timely manner, where you can pretty much tell almost your whole life story in 10 minutes or so.
Yeah. You know, it felt to me like a Million Man March, except there wasn't millions of black men surrounding, but it did feel like a Million Man March there. I never been to a Million Man March. I've seen videos, I've seen images of what the Million Man March looked like, but I've said this on a couple of occasions when I was doing the mental space on News and Talk 1380 WLK. It felt like those type of gatherings died down, and the Million Man March died with that. And now we got all this stuff that's happening in our community, and you know, us as men being built or being, you know, somewhat made to be leaders in our communities. And, you know, after the Million Man March, things just took a different direction in the years to come, to where now we have these type of conversations, these type of shows, these type of conferences, these type of events where they're not just only speaking about social injustices and racism and things like that, but we're speaking about our own personal mental health.
Right.
We're speaking about our own mental health journey, and we're just talking about how certain things affect us mentally, to where we just become so vulnerable of expressing ourselves in our very purest form that we probably could not express to anybody, maybe not even to a therapist. So it felt to me enduring, and a sense of male empowerment. You know, and I think we need to have more conferences and events like that. I remember last year, especially when I was down in Florida, and I told Lightworker Wayne, you know, we had our off the air conversations. I was like, Lightworker Wayne, I see black women coming together, all together in unity. You know, they may have differences among each other, but they're organized. They're getting things done. What are we doing as black men? What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we not doing?
Reverting back to a crab in the barrel circumstance. Unfortunately, due to brothers being a product of their environment at some point by choice, no longer by factor, and also looking at his fellow brothers and sisters, but his fellow brothers as the competition or the downfall, not realizing, yes, he's just as thirsty as you. He's just as hungry as you. He's coming from the same environment you coming from. So how come you act like you don't understand where that brother's coming from, but getting mad at him for pushing instead of attempting to teach him? If it's 10 of us in a room and 10 of us come from the same environment, maybe different neighborhoods, but the same environment. So therefore we have the same mentality. We've seen these things and we just adjust accordingly. Bro want too much. He doing too much. Why? Because it's not to your liking. It's up to the individual to realize that if I can help you, I'm gonna help you. If I'm not able to, I'm not able to. Maybe I can point you in the right direction to somebody that can. This ain't personal. This ain't personal, meaning I have nothing personal against you, but it is personal because I need to be the best me that I can be. And I'm not able to do that by babysitting you as well. I can help put you up on game. I can help point you in the right direction, but I can't baby you, bro.
Right.
So the narrative of melanated men getting together, to a degree, they got to be forced together. If you're growing up around, like they say, quote unquote, black on black crime, well, realistically, who else are you going to do a crime against if that's all around you? Because guess what? Why nobody reports white on white crime? Because guess what? If there's, now mind you, I'm not anti anybody. These are just general statistics and facts that I'm bringing up. I'm not against anybody. I am pro me, but I'm not anti anybody. So with that being said, if you have European neighborhoods or white neighborhoods, so to speak, cliche it, when they beat up on each other and they rob each other and they shoot at each other, why it's not considered white on white crime? If that's all they grew up around, that's all they know. But we have to continuously identify and reinforce the fact that we're against each other. That's a ploy of the social media and those who are behind it as well, to implement another division amongst us as men and women of melanated skin. If you keep pointing out the nonsense, then we keep looking at the nonsense and not looking at the solution. I feel like you was going to say something.
No. I was just going to say, but after you finished up, I was just going to say, back to the question, how is the media affecting the black man's mental health? I was just going to say the verbiage that you use, which we've heard so many times, especially growing up, black on black crime. I ain't hear, my first time of hearing black on black crime was through the media. That was the first time I heard black on black crime.
Mm-hmm.
And that does something. That definitely does something to one's mental health, including mine. Is it, I guess you can call it like a sense of anxiety, if you will, the anxiety of, okay, they're calling it black on black crime. So am I subject, as a melanated person, am I subject to get shot and killed by somebody that looked exactly like me as soon as I step out the door? It's that fear. It's that fear of, man, somebody may off me tomorrow as soon as I step out the door because I look exactly like him. And then they're going to say, oh, another case of black on black crime. But I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything but just mind my own business.
But that same stigma of you wondering, is this going to happen to me walk out the door? That is the same influence that they're looking for, because some people who think, damn, is this going to happen? Is this going to happen to me when I walk out the door? What they'll do is they'll go and prepare themselves. They'll go get a gun or start walking around with weapons. And then there it is. People are pushing the agenda through social media, through the internet, for all melanated people, male and female, to bear arms in some form of fashion to prepare to hurt their kinfolk. They put the stigma there so you can always watch out for those that look like you. You know why? Because if I'm always looking out for the person that looks like me, I'm not watching out for the real enemy that's behind it or coming. Yeah, I won't see it till it's too late. So, revisiting the last episode's question, while simultaneously tapping directly into this topic's question, yes, there are great things that you can do with social media, but however, let's not forget, not what they told us, but let's not forget what it was created for. To allow us to continually be mindful against each other, not the fullness of what's actually coming or already implemented in place.
I said calls it an agenda. He calls it an agenda. You know what I call it? And I said this just to compliment what you said, add a caveat to it, and then we'll go to the comments. I said this in the panel discussion that everybody, please keep in mind that this is a business. This is the media business. It is designed for you to interpret what you see and take it however you want to take it. But then, you know, you like kids, you soak up things like a sponge. And what you see on television, you take whatever you see, whether it's reality or not, and make it into your own reality. You know, I remember, and this is another thing too, that I had to slap myself on the hand, Rasta, because I didn't bring this up at the panel discussion. But I wanted to echo what Byron Allen said in an interview he did with a young man, a young African-American male, in a Bloomberg interview. And Byron Allen, for those that may not know, Byron Allen, the billionaire who owns the Weather Channel, Byron Allen said that the most powerful person in the world is not the president of the United States. The most powerful person in the world is the person who controls the media.
Absolutely.
You know, and he goes more in detail why, because you know, the media is designed to control how you think, your behavior, this. And as somebody who still works in media, I would say that's valid. I say that's valid. Look, I have my own channel. For example, I have my own channel, Honey. I also have my own online radio station, Podcast FM 87, and 2 other platforms under Reach One Communications, just like what you see at the bottom of your screen. And as a person who owns a company, I also am the president of programming. So to a certain extent, I control what goes over the airwaves within my own company. From streaming, from TV, from radio, I control what I put out there.
Right.
And a lot of the stuff that I put out there is positive. It's positive stuff. It's not stereotypical or anything. It's just content that I know comes from a place of integrity.
Right.
And I know it's coming from a place of what people need to hear. The downside, though, Rasta and everybody else listening and watching, the downside is we don't get as many eyeballs to our platform as other prominent popularity-based programs or platforms or networks or channels. I'm sorry, folks, but we're not the Breakfast Club. We're not BET.
We're not controversial enough.
There you go. There you go. Have we done some controversial episodes? Yes, we have.
Absolutely.
But it's not to the point where it'll go viral. And I think with Rasta referencing Charleston White in the first half of the show, we may go viral after this one for the very first time. But the thing is, we come with substance, though. We come with substance. We have conversations that no other platform or no other content creator is talking about. Just like last week's show, how many people, or how many content creators, I should say, let me just reframe the question. How many content creators you know would do a conversation about social media dividing black men and black women? Maybe there's a slight fewer people, what have you, but are they getting the eyeballs that they should be?
Right.
No, because like what Rasta said, we're not controversial anymore. No?
It's almost like the comparison of earlier that I made. You got hip hop and you got rap. We're hip hop at its rawest form, brother. Hip hop was speaking about mental health, about peace, about upliftment, about uniting, about each one teach one. Rap has become a platform of complete and soul division, to the point where you hear lyrics, "I'll shoot my best friend if you look at me wrong." What? That was your best friend, homie. Why don't you just talk to him? Like, why? What happened? Oh, I'm asleep with his baby mama. What? Back in our day, that was off limits. You do not sleep with your boy's baby mama, his ex-girl, his side girl. You don't mess with nothing that he got going on because that's your boy. So we are the podcast space of hip hop at the moment. But just like a true MC, if you continue on the agenda, the bread gonna come, the views gonna come, and when they come, they're gonna come at the right time, and they're gonna pour in, and nothing and no one can stop it. Or we can go the fast route and talk about all kind of stuff and get booted off the air or get banned or sued just because we wanted views and likes and we enjoyed it for the moment instead of preparing for the long haul. That's how us as melanated men and women got caught up in social media and fell victim to the content of social media as a whole. Now, like I said, there are great portions of social media. Social media can definitely be used for a positive and powerful tool, such as a show like this. So it's not, I want the viewers to really comprehend that we're not bashing social media. However, we are identifying the problem with social media in relation to us as a people. That is what is going on. Okay. So now that that's clear and in the air, hey, it is what it is. If a person don't like the truth, then I would advise them that therapy ain't no joke. It's not the space for them. However, I would still encourage them to watch, like, share, and subscribe because it is therapeutic.
It is. Just like what took place at the Black Man Lab conference, where we talked about the black man, media, and our mental health. Today's conversation, whatever time of the day you are watching this, how is the media affecting the black man's mental health? Let's say once again, you can put your comments in the comment section on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel at Reach One Network, or on Instagram at Sean Garvey ATL. Let's go over to the comment section and see what the people are talking about. We got Vincent on the check-in. Hey, Vincent. He says, with all this said regarding mental health, we can agree social media plays a pivotal role in the mental health of Black people. What would you guys say should be a standard to follow as a collective of our people to resolve many of the conditions or concerns we are going through mentally?
What would you guys say should be a standard? See, that's the key word that he popped in there, standard, to follow as a collective of our people to resolve many of these conditions or concerns we are going through. First and foremost, not just educating ourselves. It goes deeper than that. We can learn all we want to. If we don't apply, it doesn't matter. So as we educate one another, we need to move. I believe I said this 2, maybe 3 episodes ago. Not just learn, apply. We get together, and before we leave from one another, we need to have some type of step 1, step 2, possibly step 3 agenda that is being implemented that following day, that during that week, or the very next week. So the standard B is plan, plot, strategize, execute. As a whole, as a collective, period. If we as melanated men and women come together and have a discussion of mental health, mental stability, recovery. Keeping the phrase in mind, it's real, it works if you work it. We have to work these ideas. We have to work these strategies. If we just come together and say, yeah, and then go home and act like ain't nothing happened and ain't nobody doing nothing but going back to work the next day, what was the point? All we did was have a vent session. So the standard should be, if we come together before we walk away from each other, each one of us need to know what we're doing when we walk away that goes back to contributing to the purpose that we came together for. So that would be my idea as the standard to follow collectively. Because if we come together and there's 10 of us, but only 2 of us walk away with an agenda and something to execute, what was the other 8 there for? Taking up space?
Yeah.
If that's the case, we could have took a survey online. But that's just me. What you think, brother?
Well, what I think, and I'm going to speak from a media standpoint, from a media level, I think collectively we all need to create an initiative or some type of public service announcement or PSA and have it on as many networks, as many platforms as possible, and encouraging people put the phone down. Not saying to unplug all the way out from social media, because of course we need social media to get the information out there, just like what we're doing today. But I think that all of us collectively have a responsibility to go to the masses and create an initiative to say, hey, look, right now it's the wild, wild west out here when it comes to all things social media. Us as influencers, us as influential people, we know that we, to a certain extent, Rasta, we get paid. We get paid off of being on social media as well, too. But at the same time, there's got to be a balance. There has to be a balance on when to turn it on and when to turn it off. Right. And I think collectively as a whole, if we go to the media platforms, because that's what the world gravitates to. The world gravitates to media. We have to some extent, infiltrate what we already have and come from a conscious side of getting the word out there to the public, to the people, to put the phones down. Or just take a break from it. And see, here's why I bring that up. Going back to television, right? I don't know if you remember this. And I was talking to a friend of mine about this the other day. So I'm glad that Vincent brought up this question, because it made me think about the public service announcements that used to come on television back in the day in between sitcoms. So NBC had this thing called The More You Know, right? It was like a 30-second PSA campaign, and all these different actors from these NBC-based shows, they would do it like in some form of comical way or what have you, because they were in between sitcoms. But they were also encouraging people to go and read a book.
Right.
Go outside and play. Don't talk to strangers.
Right.
Don't take anything from strangers. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the era that I come from. You heard me say I'm a 90s kid.
So I tell you what, I seen another question while we having slight technical difficulties while he works that out. Mr. Williams, I believe he also said, and shout out to Mr. Vincent Williams for your support. Appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for watching. Please continue to do all the wonderful things that you're doing. Have these wonderful questions. It says, that's good, but I'll tell where I'm going with this. What would we be governed by? Me personally, my opinion would be ourselves and our moral principles that we all grew up on initially back in the day. If we take it back to when people had morals and standards and principles, and we fought for the common cause of each other and not just the single individual, then that in itself will allow us to be governed. See, back then, they governed by moral and principle. They governed by, we all have the same goal and agenda. I don't have to like you in order to push the agenda that we both agree on. Because we're not loyal to one another, we're loyal to the cause. We're loyal to the principle. We're loyal to the morale of the movement that's gonna benefit not just us now, but future generations to come. So what would we be governed by? Our moral principle in accomplishing the same goal. Being loyal to the cause, being loyal to the principle and the morale of the cause, and not to one another. Because if we continuously attempt to be loyal to one another, we'll let each other down, because we'll start to see each other in a different light the minute someone messes up or says something that we don't like or something to that effect. So let's say Mr. Williams, you, me, and Mr. Garvey, we head out on this mission. If I'm loyal to Mr. Garvey and you're loyal to me, but you don't mess with Mr. Garvey like that, that's tension and dissension in the ranks. It's not going to go well, because I'm loyal to him, you loyal to me, but you don't like him. At some point, you may switch sides on both of us. So now the morale and the cause is gone. But if we're both committed, if all three of us are committed to our moral principle of that goal, we're more likely and susceptible to get it done. So we should be governed by that morale and that principle of accomplishing something greater.
Indeed. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I had some technical difficulties on my end. But we got some more comments coming in. We're gonna go back to the comments, but going back to what I just said a few moments ago about the campaigns that were running in between sitcoms in the 90s, there were some moral consistency in television. You know, I mean, with the amount of stuff that was, and let's also be clear too, there was some garbage stuff that did come out of the 90s as well, including the 80s and the 70s. So let's not get it twisted, but there were great programming, great stuff that came out of the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and to some extent the early 2000s. But now, especially in the climate that we're in with television and media and people gravitating to, of course, YouTube, just like the show that we're on YouTube, there's hardly any balance anymore.
Right.
There's hardly any balance. So I think to Vincent's question, we got to collectively come in and bring that balance back, but also raising the awareness behind the number of mental illnesses that are coming from consuming the type of stuff that people consume from television and from social media as well. Vincent does have he has a comment rather than a question. Let's go back to Vincent. There are 5 filters of mass media. Number 1, ownership. Number 2, advertising. Number 3, media elite. Number 4, flake. 5, common enemy created by Edward Bernays. I'm not sure if I'm saying that last name correctly. And group psychologists manipulating the masses. Okay. Thoughts, Rasta, on that? He broke down five filters of mass media.
Yeah. The only thing I can say is, as far as the manipulation of the masses, that was, in my opinion, that was always the agenda. The thing is, are we falling for it or not? Even though there may be these 5 filters, ultimately we're our own filter. So I think I'm gonna leave that one where that is.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on. Let's keep it moving. He also comments, that's good, but I would tell where I'm going with this. What would we be governed by?
That was what I just touched on.
Okay. Okay. And his last comment is, believe it or not, we had a standard, but a lot of people don't want to hear what that is.
True.
You know, well, I said this in a conference. I said this, and it goes back to the Black Men Lab conference that I attended the other day. We also got to hold ourselves accountable to what we watch. I asked a group of men in the room while I was on the panel, who in here watched PBS? And Rasta, I tell you, there may have been, out of the 30 or 40 black men that were in there may have been only 6 or 7 hands raised.
Mm.
You know, there's always been this narrative that I've heard people say, oh, PBS is boring, or they don't got a lot of good stuff on PBS, this and the other. But my point I made to the group of men is, you have to step outside of your comfort zone and explore other platforms and other networks that are out there that are giving you, more than likely, they're going to give you the opposite than what you are used to. But so it goes back to what Rasta said about watching stuff that you can relate to at this particular place and time that you're in, right? I had to step outside of my comfort zone and watch The Cosby Show. I wanted to see what that other life was like of a middle-class black family in New York, and what it was like to have a father who was a pediatrician but always took the comical route with his kids whenever his kids were in trouble. I wanted to see what that was like because I didn't have that.
Right.
Okay. You know, I wanted to see what it was like for a mother, a successful lawyer, and how she handles the household, how she handles the kids, how she handles Huxtable. How does she do that? Because I never seen that in my household. Cliff Huxtable. He Cliff Huxtable. I was looking for his first word. Cliff Huxtable. So yeah. I wanted to come out of my comfort zone and see that, because I may want to use that image and apply it to whatever my reality would be if or when I become a father one day.
Right.
You know, I don't want my children to struggle like I did. So psychologically, we have to see at times, look at other things that may not be relatable, but also just to expand our minds, to broaden our horizons a little bit, and study other cultures, study other things. You know, it's just like food. You are what you eat. Exactly. But if you don't go out, you know what I mean? But if you don't go out and eat broccoli or vegetables or fruits and stuff like that, and all you eat is junk, because you just been so accustomed to eating junk, then you're going to face a lot of health consequences, including mental health issues.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, let's see. Do we have any more comments there? Big shout out to Tania, also checking in as well. That there used to be boundaries back in the day. LOL. Yeah. Going back to the balance of things, there used to be boundaries, and I guess she's referring to all things considered social media. If you know, back in the day, it wasn't social media. You know, the only social media we had back in the day, not too far back in the day, but in the early 2000s, right? We had MySpace. Now, MySpace compared to Facebook, MySpace was nowhere near what Facebook is today, nor Instagram. But it was a machine where you can connect with people. You could even connect with celebrities. You know, but, and I could be wrong, Rasta, but MySpace at that time, it was a little bit controlled.
I never experienced MySpace. Not
You never experienced MySpace?
Not in the slightest. Prior to the great space that I'm in now, by the grace of the Most High and the support of my wife, I was incarcerated. I knew nothing about MySpace. When I got locked up, the hottest phone out was a Sidekick and a BlackBerry with a pen. So I never experienced MySpace.
Yeah,
I was incarcerated when the first so-called touchscreen phone came out.
Wow.
I didn't experience none of that. So this is where some of what my lived experience plays its part in conversations like this, to identify that very disturbing space or initial uncomfortable space of mental health, and identifying that there is a mental health issue and willing to step out there and address it.
Right.
Because I knew nothing about that stuff.
Yeah. Well, I knew plenty of it because I was on MySpace myself. I saw everybody else getting on MySpace, and I said, well, I'm going to join the bandwagon. I'm going to get on MySpace too. So yeah, it was a thing that came and went. You know, we had a good time on MySpace, but when something else comes into the picture and becomes more enhanced, more bigger, and what have you, it pretty much knocks the competition off, what have you. But you know, MySpace had a place in time. It was just one of those things that came and went.
Right.
Yeah. But as we're getting ready to close out tonight's show and get ready to wrap up, how is the media affecting the Black man's mental health? One thing I did say at the conference is that sometimes you just need to turn the phone off. Sometimes you just need to turn the phone off and just go somewhere and just meditate. See, there's a reason why when people go on vacation or they go to the mountains, I'm not saying everybody does it, but there's a reason why people don't take their phones on vacations, or they don't take their phones or their laptop, computers, their equipment with them to the mountains or to some area where it brings them serenity. Because they're trying to unplug themselves from the negativity, from the distractions, and from everything else that could tamper with their mental well-being. Now, as a person like myself who's in media, social media, of course, is the vehicle for all things considered what we do in the world of digital media. But shout outs to people who are a part of Reach One Communications. Even shout outs to my radio sister, Sharia Thomas. Big shout outs to you. She takes her breaks from social media. She does have an active account, but she's been off of social media for almost half of a year now. And that speaks volumes. Now, everybody cannot be a Sharia. Everybody can't. But you have to find the balance, guys. You have to find the balance. And then also, too, we got to go out here and change the narrative of what the media portrays us to be. Because guess what, ladies and gentlemen, or for my black men out there, for my black men that are watching and listening to us, guess what? Guess who else is watching television and who's watching social media? Employers, human resources, people that work at jobs where they are hired to hire people. And this is even a bigger mental health issue, especially as a black man, because I have heard stories, and I even, witnessed a few situations where people in higher positions and in companies don't hire certain type of group of men because of what they saw on television. Well, y'all act up. The assumption, we live in an assumption society. So when you're trying to, as a black man, when you're trying to put food on the table, when you're trying to put clothes on your back, trying to feed your family, and do all the things that a productive citizen is supposed to do, and you're a black man, listen, I understand where you're coming from. I understand. Because we live in a world of assumptions based off of what people see in the media. So as a collective, I think as black men, and I appreciate the Black Man Lab for inviting me, because we need to bring back or pick up where the Million Man March left off at.
Absolutely.
We need to pick up where the Million Man March left at, because guess what? That young black man that's having a hard time trying to get a job, trying to find a job, all y'all successful black men that are out there, y'all need to be where these young brothers are at.
Absolutely.
Y'all need to be where these young brothers are at right now, because a lot of these brothers, especially in Atlanta, are lost. And they lost because they don't have anything to do. Or they come from communities and they come from places where they are limited or have limited access to mental health venues, mental health places, clinics, the whole nine. All my successful black men out there, whether you are a lawyer, a doctor, you work alongside with the mayor, you're in the political arena, or even in church. We need to grow our community of men more larger, and not just only have 30 or 40 people in a building. I like to see the Black Man Lab grow to having at least over 1,000 people.
Right.
Close to 1,000 people. Especially in the city of Atlanta. There's always room for improvement.
It is. It definitely is. Me and my wife, we've been brainstorming about a lot of things and seeing what ideas we can come up with to identify the assistance that needs to be provided in the city that we're in, dealing with mental health, men and women, melanated alike. My wife's idea is actually wonderful. Segue, Ladies of Love is her movement that she's working on. Going back to the original state where women were taught how to be women, how to cook, proper etiquette, simple stuff, how to set a table, how to love yourself, how to carry yourself with morale, like they did back in the day, opposed to you run around here half naked talking about something, you want some respect, and then when somebody putting their hands on you inappropriately, you hollering victim. Now, before the internet goes wild, let me explain something. It's not right. No, ain't nobody got no business putting nobody's hands on nobody, regardless of how they dress. So let's get that correct for all the possible naysayers and mess starters. Okay. No, ain't no woman need to be violated. Ain't no man need to be violated under no circumstance. However, with the foolery that goes on in the world, and there's a lot of sick people, and as of lately, women trafficking and child trafficking, human trafficking is running wild and rampant. What allows you to think that it's okay to be out here half naked, wanting the same respect as if you were carrying yourself to a higher standard. And that's one of the many, many premises of the establishment of Ladies of Love. So there's also some things for men involved coming soon in association with Greater on Demand, because as melanated women and men, we are greater on demand. As what is demanded of us, we shall rise and we shall shine. So and that's with or without social media.
Indeed. Big shout outs to attorney Molly Davis of the Davis Bozeman firm here in Atlanta. He's at these events all the time. And when I saw him in person the other day, he's one of the few. I can't say this about many leaders, city leaders, and pillars in the community about this, but that man right there, Attorney Davis, he really has done a whole lot of great things in the community, and he has helped Black families in times of justice. And he was there, just like the other Black Man Lab events that he attended to. So I want to make sure that I give him his credit, and also the entire team behind the Black Man's Lab for putting together an incredible conference. It's not just the first one that I went to. They have done dozens and dozens of conferences in the city of Atlanta, and they even have a YouTube channel. So I think the one that I was on, Rasta, and our viewers out there, I think they're going to have it up on YouTube in a few days or so after this episode. But if you want to go to their YouTube channel, I'm going to go ahead and put the information out there. YouTube, the Black Man Lab. Type in the Black Man Lab on YouTube. There's a YouTube link right at the bottom of your screen. And check out some of their videos that they have online. But most definitely, they're going to have the one with me on it very soon. It is to be announced. But go out and support them. And I'm encouraging every Black man to not only subscribe to their YouTube channel, but to participate in their event. Because like I said, Rasta, I want to see close to 1,000 Black men, if not more than 1,000, come together as a collective in the community and have these events, and also bridge the gap between the older generation and the younger generation and help each other out. There's things that the older generation don't know that the younger generation knows. There's things that the younger generation don't know that the older generation know.
That's right.
And it's all about, it's all about helping each other get jobs, helping each other get the necessary resources that they need, medical, or even giving out information about places that one can go to for any type of mental crisis.
Right.
I'll make this really quick before we go. One of the moderators asked if there was I think it was Attorney Davis, matter of fact, if my memory serves me correctly. Attorney Davis asked the question, what services are out there to help people that are dealing with addiction or, different things and stuff. And I named one of them at the conference, but folks, we got to put this information out there on media platforms. You all know I've done the mental space on WLK, and I invited so many people from the community and from these resources and these places to give out information. But it all starts with here. It starts with the Black Man Lab. It starts with Therapy Ain't No Joke. It starts with shows like these. It starts with us.
Right.
So I want to employ people that are watching to email me and to Rasta information that you may have about different resources where we can get these folks some help.
Right. Absolutely.
Give them access to facilities to help treat people with mental illnesses, to treat people with trauma, to treat people with anxiety, even addiction, drug addiction, sex addiction, porn addiction, any type of addiction.
That's right.
We need to get, we need to help people. So, but in the meantime, we're going to do this step by step. YouTube, the Black Man Lab, and you click on the YouTube link and you will be able to access their shows, their events. Let's see. We got time for one more comment. I know we are kind of going overtime here just a little bit. And this goes back to Vincent. Vincent is becoming one of our loyal listeners here, loyal viewers, actually. He says the standard I was referring to was the laws that were given to our forefathers. It made us economically self-sufficient. It made us self-governed because we all had the same ideology, men and women together, and everyone knew their place in family and relationships.
Most definitely, I think I would like to think I knew where Mr. Williams was coming from. That's why I answered it the way that I did. And even with his emphasis, and thank you very much, Mr. Williams, for the clarity. Thank you for pulling up. Thank you for sharing. That is well welcome, because it's things like this that we need in order to keep going in the right direction, identifying mental health and figuring out ways as a people, as melanated men together, to take the next step to being great. Yet I would like to think I had a great idea where he was going, so that's why I answered it that way. And even with your wonderful clarity, I still stay in that position. Us getting together and standing on that morale and principle and acting on it. Yes, it was self-sufficient, but if we're talking laws, that's a whole nother conversation, because the laws that are governed here in the so-called United States, these laws are not here for us. The only laws that apply to us, quote unquote, would be civil laws. Only civil laws are identified in the usage of or for melanated people. However, the legality of what words mean and how they're applied and the way this system is set up, that will be a whole nother episode that hopefully might be coming up, whether it's in this season or the next. But that would be a whole nother conversation as far as law-wise, because the law does not sustain or support us as a people in any form or fashion. And that's been a proven fact. And they tell you in their own language. You just have to know their language, which you seem to be familiar with. So,
fair enough. And let me just say this one last thing about media, or just all things considered, social media. As Black men, let us not let social media control us. Let's control social media. Okay? Because what we see on social media and television is like what Rasta said. You have a lot of people, even content creators, and even to some extent journalists, that give their opinions, that give their viewpoints on things and stuff like that. But don't let them control your thoughts. Do your research. Do your due diligence. But also remember that this is a business. And I said this on the panel the other day. Slavery was a business. Jim Crow was a business. I mean, I can go as far as saying church is a business.
It is.
Everything is a business. And along with that comes people with opinions, with perspectives, or their factual resources or what have you. But it's still a business at the end of the day, because going back to what Rasta said earlier in the program, people do things for the money. It's for a capital gain. This is how people make their money. This is how people make their living. So just understand that it's a business. Don't let it go to your head. Don't let it temper with your mental health, because your mental health is way more important than somebody's opinion. Let me say that one more time for the people in the back. Your mental health is way more important than somebody's opinion.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So I'm going to end with that. Rasta, how can people follow you, and how can people reach out to you for your services and information? You know what I didn't like I do on other episodes, identify your title, because Rasta is not just a regular person coming on the show every time we do a show. He's not just a guest. He's not just a man with information and with perspective, but he is certified in the mental health community. Absolutely. So I'm going to let you let people know, again, especially for our new viewers and new listeners, your title.
Well, thank you. In short, I am a certified peer specialist in mental health by the state of Georgia. I'm also a forensic peer mentor. I'm also a spiritual teacher. Also, I am a marriage counselor. My wife and I, we do counsel couples if need be. Where I can be reached at is Greater On Demand Consulting at gmail.com. You could also find me on Google. Book an appointment if you need. We'll do whatever it takes to satisfy your taste of mental assistance, so to speak. Just know we're here. The more you tune in, the more information that's provided, the more assistance that is definitely available to you. And in segue, if there is an emergency, if it's violent, please call 911. If you're having suicidal thoughts, if you're having troubling thoughts, if by some chance it's just a crisis and you need to talk to someone, please dial 988 on your phone. Or if you know someone in that same space, in a crisis space, suicidal, please don't forget 988. Text it to a friend, email it to a friend, call them and tell them how much you love them. And if they need help and they can't reach you, to dial 988.
Absolutely. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen, 988. That is the Crisis and Suicide Lifeline. Easy to remember if you or someone you know is facing a mental health crisis. And then there's another number that you can call if you need to get in contact with someone between the business hours of 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. So right after this show, you can call the National Alliance for Mental Illness, NAMI for short, helpline at 1-800-950-NAMI. That's 1-800-950-6264, or send them an email to info@nami.org. Next Wednesday, me and Rasta, we will be off. I'm definitely going to be at the Wu-Tang concert next Wednesday night. So if you see me on Instagram and on Facebook showing you all video highlights of the Wu-Tang performing at State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia, that is a special edition of Therapy Ain't No Joke, because I do need to get out of the home studio and be somewhere where I am enjoying some great music with some great company. But you're going to see a rebroadcast of a previous episode of Therapy Ain't No Joke next Wednesday. And more than likely, it'll be this episode. There's going to be part 1 and part 2 on ATL Community Media Channel 24. And you can watch this episode in its entirety on Honey and on the Flow Television Network next Wednesday night. Same time, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you are on the East Coast, and at 4 p.m. Pacific if you are on the West Coast. All right. So, Rasta, another one in the books. Great show, man.
Yes, most definitely very informative. Shout out to everyone who tuned in, everybody who supports, all the comments, all the love. please continue to like, share, comment, and subscribe. We need y'all. We appreciate y'all. Mental health is not something that we could do by ourselves. We need each other. We need each other, and we're here.
Indeed. And also big shout out to everybody who's been checking in on Instagram. Shout out to Jessica. Shout out to Destiny Divine Love on Instagram. Shout out to Debrica, if I'm saying that correctly, actress Debrica on the check-in, Latrice on the check-in, and the big homie, what's up, Darnell Morris? What up? He was on Therapy Ain't No Joke. He was on our very first episode of Therapy Ain't No Joke last year, which is on demand on YouTube and on Honey. So make sure you check out that episode. All right. But big shout out to Darnell Morris, the comedian doing his thing. All right, man. We getting up out of here. Thank you all. Have a great and wonderful evening. And always make sure that you and someone you know are in a great mental space. I haven't said that in a while, but that's going to be my closing outro moving forward right here on Therapy Ain't No Joke. Make sure that you and someone you know is always in a great mental space. Until the following Wednesday, not next Wednesday, but June 18th. June 18th, we'll be back live with a brand new episode. All right. See you all next time. Till then, take care.
What? I am back in the beautiful city of the ATL, as you can see in the backdrop here. Looks a little bit like the old Atlanta, but not the new Atlanta. I'm just saying. But I'm here to let you know to join me coming soon to Atlanta's Channel 24 as I introduce a brand new show called Sean Garvey and My Special Guest. Make sure you join me as I sit down and have one-on-one conversations with the best and brightest stars in the radio, film, TV, and even in the music industry. Plus, you get to learn something from yours truly and from my special guest. So make sure you join me, Sean Garvey, and my special guest coming soon to Atlanta's Channel 24, available on Comcast and Xfinity. And make sure you follow me on social media at Sean Garvey ATL. Mama, I made it, and I'm not even on the news.